Hello. How we doing today?
Oh, I'm excited about this one. This is something. As soon as I had heard about this whole Metahumans project, I was like, I want to learn how to use this on so many levels.
Yeah, it kind of spooked me out too. I thought, like, it's happening. You know,
Singularity.
the robots are taking over. How are we going to know who to trust?
Right. I still think there's quite a bit of uncanny valley going on, but
Mm-hmm.
this is like our beta test on it. There are a lot of other ways to create humans for games and for movies. Makehuman.org is one that I've used for many, many years. I really like it. So, for those of you that know that one, check that one out. But this one's really cool because there's a lot of pieces that are already built for us. So we don't have to build anything, which is great. I love it. It's so nice.
I can't wait to see it, dude. I actually have been looking at it, but not having time to actually look at it. So I get to watch the show.
Sit back and relax. Now, had you actually opened up the Metahuman creator?
No.
Oh, buddy. All right. Well,
I know. I'll follow along.
Okay.
If it's follow alongable, do I need to install?
It'll be somewhat follow along. There will be parts where it's going to go. I've got some things already set up, so we don't have to wait 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Right.
And I will mention that as we go through this. So for those of you that are here to see how to make this Metahuman thing work, I'm not going to be actually going through the creation of a creator. I'm actually going to be putting it in the Unreal Engine. But there's a couple things that we're going to need. So first, you're going to want to sign up for this Metahuman creator. So that's a thing that you're going to want to have. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to create your own. Now, you don't have to create your own either. There's totally a way around that. So this is, let's go just drop this into the chat. So this is the link to where you can actually sign up for this. So you scroll down below, and there's this little find out more, right? So if you're ready to actually start creating your own, that's awesome. If you've already got it, that's even better because you'll be able to kind of follow along a little closer. But yeah, this is where you can actually sign up for it. It took me about 5 hours because I was on it like as soon as I heard about it. But I've heard people say they get back to you in like a couple of days. So it's not too bad. So you'll want that. Obviously, the next thing that you're going to want is the Unreal Engine. So I'm going to be working inside of here. Obviously, it's a thing. So of course, you can go up here to the top right where it says download and grab that. Grab this one here too, just so it's in there. The other bit that you're going to need, maybe not, is Quixel Bridge. Now, we're going to be jumping in and out of Bridge. We're not going to use it too hard, but I definitely wanted to bring it up. And Quixel Bridge does actually store your metahumans. This is where they go. So I'm going to copy that one. It is free as long as you're running with Unreal Engine. So I'll throw that one in there. Okay, and then last is the actual creator. Here it is. This runs in the web. The way this works, real quick, because I'm not going to go into depth in it, but over here on the left, you've got Create Metahumans, and you can click on any of these, and then when you say Next, it'll actually bring up the editor, and they are totally and completely animated and ready to go, which is really cool. So they've already got a rig. You can change just about everything on them. You have all your face controls over here. You have your hair control. You have your body types. You can change their shoes if you really wanted to. You can change your lighting, which is really nice because you may or may not have your character in a studio. They may need to be indoor or they may need to be outdoor. And seeing how their materials and their hair is going to respond is going to be really important, especially for anything production. Like it's a thing, right? So you definitely want to check that out. Down here at the bottom of it, you can actually go into, it's like, oh, here's our little preview. Let's go ahead and just stop our little animation here. They'll go back to A pose. So down here at the bottom, you can hit sculpt. And what this does is allows you to grab these little lines. Okay, that's a bad example. Let's grab his eyes here. So you can actually kind of move them around. So you can make a likeness of yourself quite easily. Yeah, that's kind of a trip. So this is amazing. This is just the sculpt part. If you're going to move, it's a little bit larger pieces you can actually kind of grab a hold of. You can see it grabs a couple of those points and you can move them around. Dang. Which is really nice. So in case you don't want to get super nitty gritty with them. I know my students are going to be, so what you're telling me is that your class is totally useless. I don't have to go into ZBrush or Blender or Mudbox or any of those. I'm like, no, that's not really true because this doesn't create centaurs and dragons. So you still got to know those tools, right? It's a thing.
Humans are so boring. I mean, come on. Like, there's only so much you can go.
These creepy hairless apes. What's up with that? So there's those. Down here at the bottom, there's also a blend. Now, this is a pretty cool little feature. So if you have created some characters and you want them to be like mother, father, or maybe you've got two ethnicities that are actually having a kiddo, you can actually grab them. So click and drag this up here. And now over here in the blend, if I grab any one of these points, if I pull it kind of, is it going to let me do that one? It's not going to let me do that one, is it? Drag 3 point. Oh, I got to have 3 parents in there. Okay. Let's go 3. It's got to have enough of them. And then let's go that guy. There we go. So now if we grab these, it'll actually blend between those different points.
Wow.
So this is wild. Like I've seen this in some of the other human creators, but this is super cool to kind of see this in here as well. So there's all that. Once you're happy with it, you can just go ahead and save it pretty much. You just kind of go back. I'm just going to go back to my Metahumans. So I ended up creating one. Wait for it. Oh, look, he actually saved in there. Awesome. So I created Matilda here. And once you've actually got these created, and I don't know how fast Quixel will actually update, but you can delete them, you can duplicate them, you can edit selected, so it will actually allow you to go in there. They do have some amazing animations that like their full range of motion, so you can see whether or not pieces are going to like be weird when they're blending from one animation to another. So there's always a good thing to kind of check out. So what we're going to do here, let's go ahead and minimize that one. So this is Quixel Bridge. Again, this is totally and completely free. Let's close this one down here on the side. Over on the far left, the third one down, once you get the latest update, if you haven't updated yet, I would suggest going and grab it. This little one right here is the actual Metahumans. So these are all those presets that we just saw on the website. Inside of here as well are my Metahumans. Let's see if he updated. Hey, he did it already. That was quick. So awesome. So that's updated. You can select this, and then over here on the right, I've already got her downloaded. So it'll download to your specific machine. And what it's actually downloading are the Unreal assets. It's not FBXs and textures. It's all Unreal assets. So to actually get that into the Unreal Engine, we need to set up a few things inside of Quixel Bridge. You will also notice over here, before I go too far, there are a couple options. You can download it again in case it didn't work. You can report issues. So if you're having any issues, let Quixel know. Like obviously, like I had a problem with it. Like, you know, especially if you're in production. You can copy the ID asset. There's also a start Metahuman character. That's what this MHC is over here. Down at the bottom, if you haven't already, let's go ahead and hit this. If you haven't already downloaded it, there will be a download button. It will actually need to generate this character first. It takes about 10 minutes. Once you've got it generated, you can then download it. That's really quick. And then when you export it, I'm going to warn you, this takes the longest. I think it took me about 20 minutes to get one of my characters from here actually into the Unreal Engine. So just be aware that this would be a point where you're like, okay, it's going to take me a few minutes to kind of catch up, right? So let's actually talk about exporting them, because this is important too. So up here under the edit file or edit menu, sorry, there's the export settings. So inside of export, you make sure that over here on the right, you've got your export target, textures, models, and file names. I'm going to ignore these last three for right now because they're not relevant to Metahumans. But the export target, where are you sending it? Unreal Engine, Maya, Blender, Mixer, where are you headed? So in this case, we're doing Unreal Engine. The engine version, so depending on what version you're using, keep that in mind. Okay. The plugin location. So this is where you have downloaded and installed Unreal onto your machine. In my case, I've set it on the D drive, and what you're looking for. So if we go into the D drive, and then we're going to go into Unreal Games. And then inside of Unreal Games, you'll find your actual version. So 4.26. Inside of there, we'll go into the engine folder. Inside of the engine folder, you just select the plugins and then just say select folder. And that's where you need to put the Bridge plugin so that Bridge can actually speak with the Unreal Engine. One other thing is our default project. So the question is, which project do we actually want to drop these into? So and here you need to actually go to your specific project. In my case, again, it's on the D drive. I'm just going to go to Unreal Projects. And then inside of here, we can choose which one of these we actually want to use. So there's plenty of them in here, which is really kind of cool, because I've got all kinds of things I'm playing with. Huzzah, right? And then it'll say, yay, it's installed. So a couple of things you got to set up before we can actually do anything, which is important. When you actually, like I said, when you export these out, expect it to take a while. It just will. So there's that. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Actually, I don't even need Bridge anymore. Let's just save up some resources. Okay, so then let's go over to the Unreal Engine. So there's a couple things that we need on this side as well. I promise you, once we get into this demo, it's going to be a lot faster. So from your Unreal launcher, we're going to go up into the marketplace. And if we do a search for Metahuman, Meta will probably get us close enough. Nope, it's not. Oh, here we go. So we have, oh, this is not the one external link. Oh, okay, it's going to take us outward. So the external link, this is actually not the one I want. I want the Metahuman project. Is it going to do it this way? Okay, it's going to take us all the way out. That's interesting. I wonder why the launcher did that. Now I've already got this, so I don't have to worry about downloading it. This does have Ada. This is Ada, and this is Toro. So Ada and Toro are actually in this. So you can find them also in the Quixel Bridge as well. So if you want to just grab them from there, you can do that. Depending on which way you go, you will get a different folder inside the Unreal Engine. So, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But this project, if you want to do it this way, you can use this project as opposed to bringing them over from Quixel Bridge. So 2 different options. You don't have to do one or the other. You could do both of them. I did both of them. It was awesome. Okay, so then you hit download. It'll drop it in there. Make sure you're logged in up at the top. Otherwise, it'll ask you to log in and do all that good stuff. So that's where you can get this project. Now, the other thing that we want to do is let's go into the launcher. And inside the launcher, this will be real quick. We want to set up a third-person character because we're going to take our Metahuman and actually attach it to the third person or replace the third-person character and actually drop it in there. So you'll go into Games, say Next, and then choose your third-person character. Say Next here. And then we don't need any starter content. That's not going to be important. You can leave all this stuff as they are here on screen. Where are you going to save it? And then down here, Bart, give it an actual name and then just hit Create Project. Now, I'm going to not do this because it's going to take about 30 seconds. It's really not that long. And I'll explain why when I get to it. So that's how you can get this started because you need these 2 pieces. Now, I have these 2 pieces already open. Here is the Metahuman project. Yay, this is awesome. So in this example, I'm going to be taking this information and I'm going to be dropping it into this third-person character blueprint that's in here. Okay, so you can see this is my third person. Yay, there it is right there, down here at the bottom. Now, I already did this with one character. Once it's done, let me just give you a sneak peek of what we're going to be able to pull off. We have him, huzzah, and he runs around. Okay, and you can see he's got the same exact animations as the third-person character does. His little hoodie kind of jumps up and down, so there are some like physics things going on there. The one thing that I did run into, just so that you're all aware, for those that are like want to do this perfectly, his fingers are mashed. So some of the skeleton information didn't come across perfectly. So the weights need to be fixed on that. I'm not going to be covering that information in here because I don't know how. I'm not an animator. I'll be completely honest with you. I have no idea how to do the thing. I'll just escape there. All right. So what we need to do, let's go back into our Metahuman here. So if you're starting from your Metahuman, what you need to do is select your animation, your materials, and your sample humans down here. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to grab each one of those, and we're going to migrate them over to our third-person character project. Okay, so migrating is actually really easy. There's like a button for it. So I'm just going to right-click on this, and then up here, where's it at? So right here it says Migrate. We'll just choose Migrate. And it's going to grab everything that you need that's inside of there, specifically within those folders. We're just going to say OK. And then we need to actually find our Metahuman. So I have one in here. So Metahuman, this one. So this project, we're going to go into the config folder and just say select folder. Oh, you actually have to go all the way in. Let's try that again. Config, are we in there now? Metahuman test. Come on now, config, and then say select folder. Oh, content. I'm sorry. I lied. I'm a jerk. You get super excited about this. So we can drop it into the content folder. There we go. Now I've already got some of these pieces already in here, so I'm going to get this little message. I'm just going to say, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yes to all. You can just overwrite it. So if we look at our other project over here, we should start to see some other pieces pop up. Now you'll notice that I have a Metahumans sample one in here and then a Metahumans. So this Metahumans is what happens. This is the folder that is created when you actually go from Quixel and drop this in here. Metahuman sample, and then the other ones that are coming here. So you can see materials and animation should pop up here in just a moment. So it's copying these across. And I got a bunch of things running right now, so it's going to be a little bit slow. Let's do this. So something else while we're kind of waiting on this. Oh, there it goes. Pop. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is that this is great for like teaching, because you're like, oh, well, how many polys should I have on my character? Well, now you have an answer and you've got LODs. So your level of detail. So that's also helpful as well. We don't need this project anymore now that it's done. It's just like Bridge. We're done with Bridge. We're done with this project. We're just going ahead and close those down. So those go away. I did close Bridge. Perfect. Okay, so over here we now have our animation and our sample humans and everything else that we needed from there. Now what we need to do is to actually set this up. Grab my notes. Make sure I'm doing this properly here. When you drop this stuff in here, I will warn you, you may get something that looks like this. Big old giant warnings. Okay, so what it's telling you is that there are some project settings that need to be created. There's some plugins that aren't turned on, and then some other plugins and projects too. All you got to do is just hit this enable missing. Just hit that enable missing button on each one of these, and that will just install and set everything up, and then you'll be good to go. You'll have to restart the actual project. So again, this is one of those things that takes a little while. It's one of those steps that's going to take a minute. But other than that, that's like, it'll do all the work for you, which is really nice. So then, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of set up a way to actually use this character to run around inside of our world. So because we started with a third-person blueprint, a third-person project, inside of your blueprints, there's a third-person character. So this one right here, I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see a little easier. I'm just going to right-click on this, and we're just going to go ahead and say duplicate, just make a copy of it. And I'm going to name this one MH_Ada. We're going to use Ada in this example. Now we need to get a hold of her blueprint. Now this is going to be a step that is going to take 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on how fast your machine is. So just walk away from it and give it a chance, right? So what we need to do is inside from our content, we can come down into either Metahumans. Now this is if you grab from Quixel, right? And I'm going to change one of my filters here. I'm going to turn on my blueprint. So this one up here at the top, so it makes it a little easier to find what I'm looking for. And you can see that we have this BP Yuri. So this is the one that came from Quixel. If we go into the Metahuman samples, you'll notice that we have Metahuman 001 and 004. So this is Ada and this is Toro. So just double click on either one of these. It's not really going to matter. I'm going to go ahead and use Ada. Now, this is the point at which your computer is going to go, wait a minute. And you can see mine's already starting to kind of slow down a little bit. Fingers crossed. I did this earlier today, so it shouldn't take too long. But these little bars will kind of jump across the screen, and they can very easily take 5-10 minutes. So fingers crossed in the stream. It's not going to. Yay, it worked. Perfect. Okay, so here we have Ada. Exactly what we want. And now you'll notice over here on the left, so I'm in the viewport, but inside the components, you notice we've got a root, body, face, we've got all of our hair in here. So this is what those plugins were actually trying to tell you about. And it was like, oh, we don't have the things, right? This stuff needed to be all turned on. So now we've actually got all the grooming tools inside of Unreal, which I'm really excited to play with one of these days. But until then, we'll get there, right? So with Ada open, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of set her off to the side, and I will need to be able to see all of these components. And then our third person Metahuman Ada, this is the actual pawn that we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and open up this one. And to move this over here. And you will notice that we have our typical mannequin. So what we need to do, and this is the part that's really cool, is because a lot of this stuff is set up, we just drag and drop these pieces over, right? So I want to make sure I can see both of these, and I can't totally minimize it or it'll go away. But we can go over here to face, and I'm going to drag her face, and I'm actually going to put it on the mesh. So this character mesh 0 inherited, I want to drop it on there. I'm going to do one of these at a time. And the reason is I have to rename them so that make sure everything's going to work. So face and capitalization counts. I'm going to go ahead and skip everything that's inside of face first. And then face first. That's funny. So we're going to take our torso. Let's drop it again on the mesh. And then we'll grab the legs. And this way I don't have to try and figure out what each one of them is as I bring it over. Now you'll notice nothing's changing over here yet. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and compile, save, and then close this down. You'll notice down here at the bottom, it looks like she's like inside of this character. It's because it's not updating over here in real time. Fingers crossed that changes in the future, or we won't even have to do this. Now, if I open this back up, go into viewport, you can see that she's in there. So she is actually in there. We just got to get all this other stuff set up. All right, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and grab the rest of the pieces from her face because we want her hair. So we'll grab her hair.
Tall, look at that. Manny's a little dude.
I'll be so short now.
Short guy. Who knew?
All right, so hair goes on the face. So we'll call this one hair. And we'll go eyebrows. That one? Okay, cool. Fuzz. I was worried about getting the spelling correct. It's a thing. It's either worked me. That's a total surprise, I'm sure.
Anytime you have a misspelling, it just makes you more creative. That's the way I look at it.
That's what it is. I'm still waiting for us to remove the letter C from our alphabet because it's silly. We can replace it with CH and be totally happy. Okay, so now we've got all this. Let's go ahead and compile and save again. Remember, save often. It's a thing, right? So now when we open this up, we should see her hair. Let's move the camera up a little bit. Ta-da! So there's her hair. Manny's still in there. We're gonna fix that one here in a minute. The other thing, let's actually see if it's doing it. Okay, it's not doing it just yet. Okay, we shouldn't need. Actually, let's leave this open because we might need it. I'm just going to pull it off screen here real quick. All right, so here, if we select our mesh up here at the top, you'll notice that this is still set as our mannequin. And we don't want that as our mannequin. We want this as the actual skeleton of our character here. So in this one, and there's a whole lot of them, F underscore. So the way this works is female underscore, medium body underscore, NRW for normal weight. And the one we're looking for, let's see if I can zoom in on this. Can you do it for me? Oh, and it disappeared. Let's try that again. So F underscore B underscore normal NRW weight. There we go. And what we want is the skeletal mesh, the body skeletal mesh. So we'll do that. And now we zoom out. Ta-da! She looks like she's normal. Now she's not animating. That's fine. That's what we're going to do here in a minute. And you also notice that the materials on her hands and her ankles did not come through. And this is where our blueprint over here is going to help out. So what we can do is we can actually select her hands. And if we scroll down in the details, this is her material. If we hit the little magnifying glass, it's going to find that in the actual browser. And let's put these side by side so you can see what's going to happen down here in the content browser down below. So there's our material. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room. Okay. So let's actually put these on the same side so they were where they were before. So her blueprint, her material, let's go ahead and find it in the content browser. There it is. It is currently selected so that when we have our hands inside of our pawn, we can scroll down, there's the material, and hit the little arrow button, and that will then take anything selected inside of the content browser and drop it right into this slot. Ta-da! Now she's got her hands and her ankles. If I can get it, there it is. So now we've got that material on there. So at this point, our blueprint is no longer needed. Compile, save this. All right, so we now have our character, and she's ready to be at least tested. So let's test this. So to test this, we need to make sure that our game mode here inside of Unreal is actually using that specific pawn. So we're going to go up to settings. A couple ways to get to this. We're just going to open up our world settings from here. Here it is on the right. And you can see that I have got my third person game mode up here. If this little spot is not open, you can just click on the selected game mode. And then our default pawn class, mine is currently set to Yuri. That's why I was able to run around as him earlier. If we change this to our Metahuman Ada, which we created, then we go ahead and say play. Yay, she's in here. That's it. Everybody go home. That's all you need, right? She does jump too, which I think is super silly. So we're close. We're getting there. We're getting there. So the next step is to actually set up the skeletons. So we're going to take the bound information. So if we let's just grab Yuri here real quick. So what we need to do is we need to take the bound information from our third person character, and we need to bind it to our metahuman, just like this guy now has. So to make that happen, we need to For those of you that are animators, I apologize. We're going to be clunky with this because I am not an animator. Over here in the far left inside our content browser, let's go into our third person, not the blueprint, but the third person. If we go into, oh, I lied. I always do that. Told you it was going to be clunky. All right, we need to go into the mannequin. Sorry, Manny the mannequin. That's where it's at. So in the mannequin, there's an animations folder. We'll open up that one. And we have our animation blueprint right here. So we're going to need this. We're going to do just double click on that. And there it is. Okay, cool. So inside of here, if we look down here in the bottom right, we actually have all of our animations for our character. So we can like take all of these and bind them to our actual character. So Ada here. So first thing we need after we know what we're actually binding is the actual pieces that we're going to bind it. Now, this is going to depend on whether or not you grabbed it from Quixel or if you actually brought it in from the project. If you brought it in from Quixel, you will find it in the Metahumans. And inside of Metahumans, we can go to Common. Inside of Common, we go down to Female. Now, this doesn't matter if you're doing male or female. It's always under the female one. And then we're going to go into Medium. Remember, that's a medium weight. And normal weight, or sorry, medium height, normal weight. And then under here, we have body, and we have our Metahuman base skeleton. So this skeleton, let's go and open this up, has got almost the same hierarchy as the actual human from our third person character. So they're close. We're going to have to change a few things. But this is the one you're going to be working inside of. Now, if you brought it over from, so I'm not going to be using that one. If you brought it over from the project, you're going to go into sample humans and then into common and then into female, then into medium, then into normal weight. And inside a body, you'll find this skeleton. So this is the one that we're going to use because I'm using the one from the project. I've already done one from the Quixel side. So I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. So inside of here, it should look like exactly the same. If it doesn't, you've got a couple of options up here. You can actually change it. Oh, let's put her slacks on or her shoes, whatever it happens to be. So each one of these is broken up into separate pieces. And one of the things that's kind of cool is that this will probably allow us, when we move into Unreal 5, fingers crossed, we can actually swap these pieces out. So our characters become considerably more like dynamic, like right out of the box, which is way cool. So there's this. Now I want to retarget some stuff. So now that I've got this one open, if you don't have this little tab up here, there is a retarget manager button right here. So make sure you just click on that. Then you'll get this. So the things we need to change inside of our select rig right here, we're going to change this to humanoid rig. Okay. Now the skeleton that's in the third person character is a little bit different than these metahuman ones. And to get it to actually bind a little bit better, we're going to make sure we have a couple of things changed. Down here at the very bottom, we can do view pose. And you notice if we click this, we have these arms that go into there. That's not good. So we want to make sure that they're in this A pose. Okay. And then if we modify pose and then say use current pose, that way we've got the right setup because these things have to be in the same place. So that's a good thing. So let's say use current pose. There we go. And then under our spine 1, we're going to change spine 1 to spine 2. We're going to change spine 2 to spine 3. Spine 3, we're going to change to spine 4. And the reason this is happening is because the spines that are right here in the center, if I can get a little closer, they're in just a little bit different place here on the metahuman, and we want them to match up on the other side. So we'll go ahead and use that one. So say cool. So that's good. So we're going to go ahead and save. Whoop, we actually don't need to save that. We'll do the save up here at the top. There we go. Okay, so our metahuman is set up. So I've already kind of done this on mine. So let's go back into mannequin. And then we want our, this is the part that I always get lost on. Okay, so we need the skeleton for our actual third person character. And that lives mannequin mesh. There we go. So this one right here. Close down materials. So mannequin, character, mesh, and this skeleton here. So if we open up this, yay, there's our Manny the mannequin, right? Oh, shoot, one other thing. I forgot to do one other thing in here. Skeleton tree. So over here in the skeleton tree, inside of our metahuman, over here under options, we want to show retargeting options. Whew. Glad I didn't forget this. This would have made everything really awkward. So we want to show retargeting options. And you'll notice that these are all animation relative. Like this is not what we want. From our pelvis, we want to change our animation relative to just straight animation. Okay. And then from our spine, I'm going to right click on it and we're going to say recursively set translation retargeting skeleton. And then you'll notice all of these turn to skeleton. This doesn't do everything though. We'll have to go down a little bit farther and we will find our right thigh, same thing. So right click on it and recursively set to skeleton. And then same thing down here with our left thigh. Whoops. And right there. And then down here at the very bottom, there's a pelvis forward. We're going to make sure that that one's also set to skeleton. So there's those. So the top two, root and pelvis, should be animation. Everything else should be skeleton. Okay, now we'll save it. All right, back over into our Manny mannequin one. So inside of this one, inside of our retarget manager, we want to make sure that it is set to humanoid as well. Okay. If it's not there by default, make sure that that is set. We don't have to worry about our spines because this one's already set up and ready to go. Inside of the skeleton tree, we're going to do the same exact thing. So options, make sure that we are showing the retargeting options. Make sure that the top two, root and pelvis, are set to animation. Everything else underneath it is set to skeleton. And again, just come all the way down. You'll notice this one doesn't have a pelvis forward down here, so you don't have to worry about it. So it's good to go. Make sure that that one's saved. Okay, so fingers crossed we've done everything correctly. Within our, so actually I should have left this one open. So inside of here, we can actually come up to the top right. This is just a faster way of finding it because I can't ever remember where it's at. So up here in the top right, there's this animation blueprint. Remember, this is the one that I was talking about earlier that has all of these animations in it. So this is great. We can, with this one selected up here, just hit the browse button up here in the top left, and it'll take us to that spot in here. So yay, there it is. So now that we know where that one's at. Another way to kind of get around. So now we have our metahuman in. We have the actual meshes moved over inside of a third-person character. We've got both of our skeletons from where we're taking it. Our Manny the mannequin here, we're going to be taking and putting it on the actual metahuman skeleton. So that's this step, or that was that step. The next thing we need to do is actually retarget it. We've got it set up for retargeting. So to retarget it, all we have to do is right-click on this, and then just say retarget anim blueprints, and go ahead and click on that one. Now, I've got two options in here, so I have to be kind of careful. So what I'm looking for inside my path is that I want to make sure that I am grabbing, if I can get a little bit more room here. Okay, so you can see I've got one that's from Metahumans, and then I've got the sample Metahumans. Metahumans comes from Quixel. Sample Metahumans comes from the actual Metahumans project. So I'm going to grab the one from the Metahumans project. You should see something pop up over here on the right. If you don't, double check all the steps. I just want to make sure that they're all there. Now we can, before we actually retarget this little retarget button, we're going to give it a prefix. So I know who this is, mh_ada EA, and then underscore again. So that's my prefix. And then down here on the folder, where do I want to save this? So I want to keep everything nice and organized. So I'm going to say change. And I'm going into my sample metahumans. Now, Ada is the one. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to right click on this and say new folder. I'm going to call this animations. Make sure that that one is selected. And just hit OK. Now, all I should have to do is hit, oh, really? You're just going to autosave? And where did that go? Do I have to reopen it?
Wow.
Oh, okay. So I got to do this again. At least it didn't crash. I'm totally okay with that. Okay, sample metahumans, metahuman 1, animations. Okay, perfect. Make sure that I've got my second one selected and then say retarget. And then it auto-populates that folder with all the new pieces. Cool. All right, now that we've got these animations in here, let's go back to our blueprint, go up into mesh, and then from our mesh, we'll go over to our details. We've got our scroll to the very top here. So we've got our skeleton in here, so that works. And then we've got this animation class. So if I type in Ada, we should be able to find that one that we just created. So Metahuman Ada, third-person animation blueprint. Ta-da! And she pops to life. Look at that.
Wow. Ready for a zombie movie almost.
You get it. Right. And it looks like Yeah, it looks like her fingers actually worked out fine this time.
She's better than, well, I don't know about that other hand, but she's
Oh yeah, those are mashed. Dang it. C'est la vie. Oh well. I believe in you, Ada. I believe in you. You'll notice that her pants are having a problem here. That's fine. Just select her legs, and then we just need to find that same blueprint.
Right.
And then for her feet, there we go. So
Nice.
we can compile. We can save. So now, remember, we had to change our default pawn class. So right now we're using Yuri. So let's come down here and choose Ada. And we hit play. Moment of truth. Ta-da! There she is.
Wow.
So there's a couple things you may notice. Her neck is kind of sticking out. So I can camera a little closer. Now, these also have LODs on them. So as I get closer, it'll like pop down into her shirt. So yeah, you see it, that it fixes itself. But if I start to move again, you'll see that her neck kind of pops out of there. You'll also notice that her shirt, let me get her going this way. You'll notice that her shirt sticks through her pants. Okay. So these are all just binding issues, which are pretty easy to fix for animators and people that know how to do all that stuff. I'm not very good at it, so I'm just using this one. Yeah, her head is like sticking through. That's weird. All kinds of issues there. Oh man,
she's got some gills.
She definitely got some gills. So yeah, a couple little problems that we're gonna have to kind of problem solve. I don't know how to fix them. I don't think it's fair to waste all your old time while we're doing this, but there you go. There's the process for actually setting all that whole thing up. And now, of course, I can come over here and I can change this back to Yuri at any time. And then I can actually have him. He seems to be fine. I haven't had any major issues with him. The only thing that I've noticed is that every now and then when I start up, his ankles and his hands are in the wrong place. But if I jump or like go upstairs, the program seems to figure out how to like rebind everything, and it's not a problem anymore. So there it is. So something I would like to do. I think this is kind of cool. Where are we at? Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. So what I want to talk about now is that when we're looking at these, and let's find Yuri here. And Yuri face. So we have his face here. So these
wow, yeah.
all the bones that are in his face. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of stuff, right? Let's see if we can, because I want to send this out and put it into the actual, like I want to drop it into ZBrush, because we can actually turn those off. That's super silly. Oops. Font names. Oh, that's just going to make it worse.
Wow, that's good. That's good. I can read that. So this is how they probably use the way to kind of put the dots on people's faces to move their animated character to their talking. I saw that. They just had an article on that.
Yeah, there's some pretty wild stuff in here. All right, now where is
cool
blueprint class face male body? Man, okay, let's do this. Right click. Can we export this one out? I know there's a way to do this. Asset actions, export. FBX, cool. All right, let's just drop this on the desktop for now. FBX 2013 for text color. Let's turn all of these off. Let's go 2019. Let's export that. Texture limit streaming. I am way over 200. That's a lot. My bad. Okay, so on my desktop, I now have this. All right, so let's open up ZBrush. You can do this in any program. You can do this in Blender. Fingers crossed we got the settings right for the FBX.
It all comes back to ZBrush.
Always does. It's so worth it.
Yeah, so I need to send an email. So fire up ZBrush.
Right. Okay, there's a new version of ZBrush. Yeah, they came out like yesterday. They've been updating them like crazy. It's been rather entertaining.
Awesome.
All right, so let's say import. Let's go to the desktop. I'm going to leave all that off. Is he going to give it to me? Hey, there it is. Okay, so this is that Metahuman. This is Yuri. Some of the things that are really kind of cool about this And the reason I bring this up is because this is a technical thing, and I'm very interested in this. And I know my students are always really interested in this too. It's like, well, how many points should I be, working with? So up here in the top left, you can actually see that I've got 35,000 points. Now this does include his eyes and his eyelashes, and most likely, yeah, his teeth and everything that are inside of there as well. Okay, so let's kind of break him up a little bit. I'm going to give him different poly groups. Let's hide everything, and let's go ahead and split that hidden one off. So just his face alone, let's go ahead and hide those other pieces. So you can see just the face alone, 23,000 points for that. You can also see that the geometry, the way this is built, is that we have actual loops that go around the eyes. This is really important for animation. It'll help it deform the way we want it to. Same thing with the mouth. You can see that there are loops, and then there's these little pinches that happen down here in the corners. Okay, so where these loops are at, where this topology is at, is very important when it comes to animation. You could very easily just make total garbage animation and force it to kind of work, but I would not suggest it. Something else that's really worth noting is that, let's actually turn the color off here real quick, is that the density of the polygons is much higher around the areas that need to animate more, like the eyes, the ears, the nose, okay? And as you get further away, you'll notice that the density becomes much less. Like check out his shoulders. There's really not much going on down there. That way your poly budget is spent, effectively, efficiently. Yeah, we'll use those words, effectively and efficiently across the entire surface, which is really nice to kind of understand why it's built the way it's built, which is great. These are also great for like studies. One of the things that I've noticed about these is that there are, a lot of really nice pieces, and like you got your zygomatic bones that are sitting inside of here. Your mandibles. Mandibles. That's the right word. You can actually see the different muscles that kind of sit around the actual lips, which is really nice. You've got your, that brow line. You've got that little spot in the middle that's kind of missing. The nose. This is great. Like this is such an awesome like anatomy thing. You've got, your spot where the cartilage and the bone actually meet right there. Your proportions are excellent. Like you've got, it goes straight across from your eyes and your ears right across there. Like there's so many things that are working really well. Like the eyes actually meet up with, the mouth here too. There's just an amazing amount of just basic information that is just set up in here, which is really cool. If we add in the eyes, let's take a look at all the creepy stuff here real quick. So inside of here, you can see how they've actually built the eyelashes. They're just cards. They're real easy to deal with. They've actually got, this is kind of cool. Let's actually select just that. So they've got this whole area in here set up and ready to animate. It's specifically just for, where the eye actually meets the skin, which is pretty cool. The actual eyeballs, so you can see those. You can see that they're, if there's you're never going to see the back end of it, get rid of it, right? You can actually see they've kind of got the cornea kind of built in on this, which is awesome. If for those of you that understand materials, good Lord, let me know how they did the materials. The materials for the eyes are insane. I'm still trying to figure out how they're actually built. They're just awesome. For the gums, let's actually turn that off real quick. So for the gums and the teeth, you can see that we've got some really interesting stuff going on here. We have actual teeth. This is all one mesh. Let's turn on the colors so you can see that. So this is all one mesh. So they've got these gums built in, and then the teeth kind of built in on top of them. Is that going to be worth it for what you want to do? You'll have to kind of break this up with either textures or materials. I think they've got it set up as one texture. So the ivory teeth and the actual gums are all set up as one, which is cool. And then you've got your little gum pieces in here. Now, I'm not sure what these are for. I haven't done enough digging. Just my assumption is that this is set in there for changing color, because there might be a material slider that actually sits on that you can actually change the color. You can also probably use this for very specific, like you want it to look more or less wet in certain places. Maybe you want gum disease. I don't know.
the gingivitis line.
Right. The gingivitis line. I like that. There we go. That's good. We've got an actual tongue that sits inside of here, and you can see that does actually go down into the esophagus too, which is kind of cool. It doesn't just kind of chop off right there. So just in case, you have a camera that needs to go down somebody's throat, I thought that was kind of fun. The uvula, they've got that one in there too. Who would have guessed, right?
The punchy bag is what my son called that. My punchy bag.
The punchy bag in the back of your throat. So the top of, the roof of the mouth is in there. The base, actually, let's go this way here. So the base is actually kind of interesting. They've got it built into two pieces. Boop, there we go. So left side and right side, which is, I don't know why they would do that. I would think that animation might be a problem if you ever needed to, because it'd be split. But I mean, if it's in the inside, the mouth bag is what we call that. So the mouth bag is kind of separate too. So yeah. These are great. These are wonderful. Like every time I look, I'm like, oh, all the anatomy's in there. But they know what they're doing, so it's a thing, right? So
All
very
those
awesome.
white lines and white dots from before are probably all very important pieces.
Mm-hmm. 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 Something else that we can kind of look at. You're gonna love this, Brian. This is always a trip to do. Let's turn that off real quick.
The snake hook brush, give him some horns.
Oh no, he's not
Turn
gonna
him
do
into
it.
Loki.
Really? Oh, where'd he go?
He
No.
faded away. Like, yeah, he went to another planet.
I was trying to. Oh, there we go. Oh, weird. So when I was trying to check out the UVs, but the UVs, you're not going to be happy with that. And that may be because I've only got one UV, or I've got two UV shells, and it's only reading the first one because ZBrush will read the first one. Let's look at it in Maya. See if we can see the UVs inside of Maya. Oh, we got a whole group in here. Hello, all. Maurizio, Purple Man, and Lexi. Thank you for joining. Wait for it. So the background, just so you guys know, this background is actually all Quixel assets. That whole forest, it's all straight rendered out of Unreal. It's so wild. I love how fast Maya 2022 is. It's so nice. Okay, so let's say import. Let's go to our desktop and let's grab Yuri here. Wait for it. This may take a while. Press escape to cancel. Importing deformations. Okay, so interesting. So there's definitely some stuff built into this character, 892 of them. So the FBX does actually store, it looks like deformations is one way to name it, but I was going to call them morph targets. That would be fun to dig into and see what they've actually got inside of there. Any questions while we're waiting for this to load?
Questions from the audience.
What do we have here?
I got the microphone. I'll walk up to anybody.
So the group at Pixelogic, they've got a microphone and a cube, and they just throw the cube out into the audience.
Yeah, that's genius. Mindfair did that. It was a TNT cube that you would talk into.
Gotta blow it up.
It's fun, yeah. And then no one gets hurt when you chuck in the microphone.
That's awesome. Okay, 500 of 800. We're getting there. I mean, we could go back and play with the snake hook while this is loading.
I could watch that for days,
It's so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I get to teach that class this coming term. And with all the new things that are in it. Oh man, all the cool things that are in ZBrush now. Oh, this latest version that they've been pumping out feels like every 2 or 3 months they've been adding some actual significant features. Even their little hot fixes they've had these past couple times have been just phenomenal, just so awesome. Wait for it. Now, if I had actually exported this straight out of, yeah, that's what I thought. If I had exported this straight out of, yeah, it brought in all the bones. I thought that's what it was doing. Okay, so let's actually grab you and isolate you. We'll look at a UV editor and select that out. Okay, so we have a mess of things. Let's grab you. Okay, for the history on this real quick. There we go. And then So we just got to separate this off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the faces, separate them. We should now have, oops. There we go.
Wow.
Separate that off. There we go. So this is what the UVs look like. Ta-da. Wow, they used a ton of the UV space on there. That is amazing. Look at that. And of course, because they're professionals, we don't have anything that's actually overlapping, but boy, is it close down here in those ears. Cool. So the advantage of setting up your UVs like this is that you're using as much of the texture as you possibly can, because the texture runs, it's just a square. So you're using as much as you possibly can, which is awesome. And we can actually take a look at those textures too. So this is what those textures look like. So they're using, so here's other good information. So they're using a 2048 for the character's face, which is awesome. So you can see that up here at the top right. Something that's also really important about this is a power of 2. So 2048 can be, as you get further and further away, what it's doing is it's creating what are called MIP maps. And you can see this number right here. So this number of MIP maps. So it can make 12 of them. So it can get, away. This is a stupid way to say this, but it can get away 12 times and it'll actually make it smaller and smaller and smaller. And really what it means is there are 12 different versions that the computer can make to actually set this up, which is awesome. So as it gets smaller on screen, so as we get further away, can I just drag that in there? Yeah, I can. Okay, so as we get further away, it gets smaller on screen, and then it creates different MIP maps and it puts them on screen, because you don't need to be, unless you're like right up close to them, you don't need to have it at 2048. That's ridiculous. So it's really important to make sure that your textures are powers of 2, so that they can actually be MIPed. That's really, really important, and take up as much space as you possibly can. And you can see up here in the top right, this, I bet, is probably the mouth bags. Where did Yuri's face go? Oh, I excluded him. And get at it.
Shut your mouth bag.
Your character's got a mouth bag.
I could just see that. Yeah, shut your mouth bag, you wisecracker.
Okay, Maya just totally, there we go. I was like, I got to be able to pull that apart so I can get in there and see. So if we double click that, yep. So you can see those are those mouth bags. So that's the UVs for that sit up there in those corners. You can see all the hair, the eyelashes. That's all these little squares are, I bet. You can actually see the inside of the mouth. Hold of that. Nope, there's going to be. And then I bet this is an eyeball. Yep, there's an eyeball. So it looks like there might actually be like 2 lenses. What is this? Oh, that's that little area that goes around the eye. Or is that the actual eye? Oh, that's a lens. Oh, look at that. There's they've got a lens on there too.
Oh, cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, this is why I love breaking these things apart. So there's the other eye. So we can get a hold of that. There we go. So there's like the roof of the mouth. If we do this, I can see it in there. That's actually the bottom mouth. And then this one, there's the roof of the mouth. Yep. Oh, that's the tongue. I'll get it one of these times. Probably that one. There we go. There's the roof of the mouth. Got it there. There's where those little gingivitis strips. So that's their official name now. There's the other eye. This is it. There's the gums for the top, gums for the bottom. So something you may notice is that all of these pieces are overlapping each other. And for those of you that are freaking out, they're like, why would you do this? Remember that each one of these is actually referencing a different material. So they can overlap. It's not going to be a problem. The point at which overlapping UVs becomes an issue is if you're trying to bake information and it's on, and you've got UV maps that are from the same object. So case in point, if I was going to, bake, some kind of a normal map, can I move this? Is it going to let me do it? Oh, it's going to, hold on. It'll come to life here in a minute. or it's going to crash. There we go. Can I move it again? Let's move it up a little bit farther. So the problem with overlapping UVs is if we were to, there we go, take said character. Okay, so I model it or sculpt it, whatever it happens to be inside of here or inside of ZBrush, and Yuri's in here, boom, right? And if I were to sculpt on one side, so now he's got a lump in his noggin, right?
Poor guy.
So if I were to try and bake the normal maps across here, which I'm not going to get into how to make that happen, but what would happen is if I have my character set up so that half of, whoops, wrong button, half of him, we'll go right down the middle. So this half and this half were laying over each other in the UVs, and I went to try and bake it. This part right here sees this and says, oh, I need to bake that information in there. But because they're overlapping on this side, it's going to try and do the same thing. Or it's going to see this is flat, and it's going to try and make that look flat. So overlapping UVs are okay as long as they're separate objects or separate elements. In this case, I would call these elements because they're all different elements of one piece, as long as they're overlapping each other and they're referencing different materials. Let's see what this actually built for materials in it too. Wait for it. Hypershade always takes a minute. It's kind of like an extra. Maya is a really crazy machine in that, oh yeah, cool. We've got all our materials in here too. In that it's basically an OS system. I mean, a real rudimentary kind of weird way to say it. It's an OS system and you can like run other programs in it. The Hypershade happens to be another kind of program that lives in it. Part of the reason Maya usually takes forever to load up. So you can see each one of these. This is going to be really entertaining. Let's see if we can do this. Uh-oh, where'd he go? I lost him. Okay, so let's turn that and then, okay, cool. So if I were to grab, let's see here, cartilage, eye refraction, eyelashes, head, teeth. Okay, so let's take the teeth one. So this is a teeth material. And let's change the color to be something like blue. Ta-da, you can see that their teeth are now blue. Even though originally all of these UVs were slapped on top of each other, it's looking for another material so the UVs can actually sit on top of each other because it's referencing other information. It's a real weird kind of abstract way to think about it, but once you kind of get used to it, you're like, oh, I'm just going to put different materials on everything. So if you've got like a sword, you could have a material that's metal and a material that's wood and a material that's leather, and you can have your UVs all sitting on top of each other and you don't have a problem. It's a best practice when used in a way that's going to be optimal for your actual project. If you haven't watched it yet, there's the Chivalry. It just came out like a week ago as of this. The Chivalry 2 talk that Epic just did. Actually, they went through and talked about how they were actually creating materials for all of the objects inside the world. And they ended up doing that. And it worked really well. It was like awesome. In some cases, you don't want to do that because it does actually add draw calls. So it has to go look for the material and for the object. And if you've got 7 materials on one object, well, now your object costs 7 times more than something that has 1 on it. So there are pluses and minuses to it. Personally, I like working that way, but that's because I'm an environment artist, not a character artist. That's the way those work on there. So yeah, we now have kind of broken down and looked at see what's actually inside of each of these pieces. Yay! It will close to due to inactivity. It's smart like that. And where's Unreal? There we go. So there you go. We actually have now our characters inside here. So you can make them inside of Quixel's Bridge. Pull them from Quixel Bridge. You can create your own, drop them into Quixel Bridge, and then bring them into here, and then have them stare at each other. There it is. Might be the thing.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So on that bombshell, we're going to go ahead and drop it here. Thank you, everybody that's been watching these. This has been super cool to actually kind of put all these pieces together. I need to take a break from doing these things for a little while. So this is kind of our season finale. And then we'll be back in a little while to kind of do some more fun things. And by all means, let us know what other information you would love to see as far as Unreal, maybe even ZBrush. I can jump into Maya. I don't have any problems with that. I would love to do some more stuff inside of Blender. I'm still kind of a noob when it comes to it. So if you got a question, throw it my way. It'll give me a chance to like go learn some stuff that's inside of there, because it's always worth expanding your repertoire of tools that you're using inside of all of these programs. So there it is.
Yeah, that's cool. And definitely like comments in the YouTube video. So post a link to our channel in the Twitter. I just did that, and if you're watching that and you get to the end, you want to see some more stuff, have some questions, post it in the YouTube comments, and we'll peruse those when we're getting back into our live streaming schedule. That was cool stuff, dude. Metahumans.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I guess let's throw one last one in there for y'all. So I had mentioned this at the beginning of the stream. This is another place you can go to make humans. Oh, I just took
I beat you to it.
There we go. So makehuman.org. This program is specifically built for making humans. You can see they've got a Mac version. We go to downloads. They've actually got, I think they've still got a Linux version too. Yeah, so Windows, OS. Looks like they took out Linux. Amazing program. And it's got more bells and whistles and sliders, and your characters can come across already bound. So they're already ready to like animate. They don't have rigs, but they've definitely got all the bones and they're ready to go there too. I use this with my students every time I teach my sculpting class, because to build a character from scratch takes months, and we've got like 3 weeks to do it in, 4 or 5 if they're really ambitious. But yeah, it's definitely a program that's worth kind of checking out for sure. So
that's cool. So they can use this to grab the initial structure and then modify it from there. Nice.
It's totally free. It's just a little program that you just install. It's got all kinds of crazy little sliders and fun things to go with it. I always encourage my students, after they've got this built, let's go 3D print them. Why not? You'll have your own little action figures. Put magnets in them so you can stick them on the fridge at your mom's house.
To hold your drawer rings on the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. I've used it a couple times. I'll make little hands, and you put all your jewelry and stuff on it.
Oh yeah.
That's what I do. It's fun times. So
very cool.
All right. So it is. There's all the free information I'm going to throw at you for today.
All right, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, and I will catch you all on the flip side.
Sounds good. Have a good one, everybody.